What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Bat Flip, where we discuss everything baseballs. I'm Landon Raby. With me, Dylan Taylor. Got Deuce Thomas in the background helping us out as well. Tennessee is not undefeated anymore, but they're still 5-1 in the SEC. Have not lost a series so far in the conference, knocking off number 12 Alabama after losing the first game, facing some adversity. Having that back-to-back loss after he lost to ETSU in the midweek, get off the mat, and they take care of business on Friday and Saturday. And going on the road, I think that's tough anyway, just in any sport. But also, like, Tennessee hasn't played on the road yet. Like, they played a neutral site. They played that, kind of classic in Houston, but they haven't played in a true road environment. With it being such a new team, a lot of freshmen, I thought that this was going to be kind of a telling series, and I think it was. You saw exactly how deep Tennessee is. If Tennessee is dealing with an injury like they are to Gavin Keelan, or guys aren't getting it done, or they've kind of struggling a little bit at the plate, like we have other guys that can come in and play and make the most of it. And that was my biggest takeaway from the weekend was Tennessee just continues to rely on that depth and just be more talented top to bottom than other teams that are really talented, but Tennessee's just got an abundance of it. So, really good weekend. Again, what was kind of your biggest takeaway so far?
Yeah, it's the first time it is, like you mentioned, a true road environment, just because it's a distinct home field advantage, and it's going to be that way. I mean, we've already seen flashes over the past couple of years. Like you're the hot ticket. Like everybody that can afford it nowadays is looking on the schedule before the year and saying, well, when's Tennessee coming to town? Because you want the chance of feeling what happened Friday night, but then unfortunately you get what happened Saturday and Sun or sorry Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. You get what happened Friday and Saturday instead. So yeah, that's my biggest takeaway is we wondered how this team would respond to adversity. I thought it looked different than how we thought it would go. I thought it would start with Friday, and Doyle got roughed up a little bit, but like you mentioned, it just shows how deep the team is, and we saw that resiliency come through that we wondered if this squad was going to have. Looks like they've got it. So you hate to drop the midweek game; those aren't really of that much importance. And then you start to get a little bit worried on Friday, Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday you come back. The Thursday series always throws me off.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, Liam Doyle, gave up some runs. I think the main thing for him is like you gotta get ahead in counts. You can't be walking people with the bases loaded. Um, I think he had 4 walks. Like that was just a recipe for disaster with a really good lineup like Alabama has.
Yeah,
Just can't continue to beat yourself. And I didn't think he pitched bad by any means. I think he had 9 strikeouts. Like he pitched well, but it was definitely like, I mean, we talked about it. The whole team kind of faced adversity a little bit. There were some errors. The double play ball that gets you out of that inning, and you walk somebody, and it was just kind of a domino effect from there that you let kind of it get away from you. The good thing is Tennessee started great in all 3 of these games.
yep.
Andrew Fisher, 3-0 bomb. I mean, I was never a good enough hitter where I had the green light on a 3-0. I don't know if you were, but
Absolutely
um,
not.
I don't know if a lot of people on Tennessee's team has that, but Andrew Fisher's like, hey, watch this. Um, and that's one of those things like you kind of have the confidence. Like if I see it right down the pipe and I know I can get a hold of it, rip it. But if you miss it, then you're going to hear about it. But he didn't miss any of that, and he didn't miss that one on Saturday either. That was a 417-foot bomb. But yeah, they just continue to start fast. And I thought Liam Doyle was pitching well, but like I said, in that second inning, it just defense couldn't help him out, and then he wasn't helping himself out. And Tennessee just didn't have enough left. They scored a couple runs there in the 7th, I think, And then after that, I mean, they just couldn't get enough to get back and overcome, those mistakes early on.
Yeah, I had to have the green light just to step in the box. So regardless of count, I just need that green light to get in there. But yeah, Fisher, that's earned. So that tells you what they think of him. And yeah, going back to Doyle, it's I know we mentioned it last week or 2 weeks ago. Just I think I mentioned the fact that he likes seeing that strikeout total go up, and he's going to have to make the adjustment of outs instead of strikeouts. And he's perfectly capable. He's got the stuff to do it. But first time going on the road like that, you got to get 27 outs regardless. And I know it looks good when you strike him out. I know it boosts you up draft boards, which he's still going to stay first round. So I'm not worried about any of that. But he's going to have to shift his mentality a little bit. And we talked about the pitch count last time. Like, it is nice, having the guys behind him that he does that can come in and save the day. But unless you need them to, let's not test it anymore.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, in that game, and then Dylan Loy came in and pitched really well, and I thought he just continues to produce for you. I didn't know, like after last year, you're like, yeah, he'll probably be like a bullpen arm of some sort. I don't know how well he's gonna be, but that velo has picked up a lot, and his stuff's really working from him. His second and third pitch is really good. That slider's good, that curveball's good. It's coming from the left hand side. It's a weird arm angle, and they're kind of using him a lot like they did Kirby, which I know I know they're left handed, but other than that, there's not really too much things that are similar about them. Dylan Loy's got a little bit more velo than Kirby did. Maybe Kirby had a little bit more. Obviously, he had some swagger to him. Not saying Deloy isn't swaggy, but there was just some kind of aurora with or aura. Aurora. I don't know where that came from. Yeah, Colorado. There's some kind of aura about Kirby. So yeah, they're kind of using him all over the place, and I really like what he's doing. And he's kind of been, knock on wood a little bit. He's kind of been unhittable.
He's been nails, yeah, and he, like you said, situationally they're using him the same way, but it's odd seeing it coming from that left side because he's got much more. Obviously, much more pro stuff than Kirby. Now,
yeah,
there's questions. How much does the mustache come into effect? I think it adds a couple miles an hour, adds a couple inches of run onto it, so it's a different perspective. But yeah, to have his second and third pitch, like you mentioned, develop this early into his career, I think is a really good sign. I don't know that he'll ever. I don't know that I doubt he'll ever be a starter at Tennessee, just because with the portal and what they're bringing in every year. Once he gets established in the role that he's in right now, he's kind of one of those guys that, like Kirby, if he takes over that, you're counting on him for a while from that spot. So, but yeah, he looks very good. You say for his age, and there are guys younger than him on the team, but from what we've seen last year, this year, you can definitely tell he's been working on his craft quite a bit, and it's paying off because he's going to be a guy that you're going to depend on all year if he keeps pitching like this.
Yeah, and speaking of somebody you're going to depend on, and that's a guy who took a different role in this weekend with Gavin Keelan out. You had Jay Abernathy bump up in the lineup from usually ninth to second. I think there's a lot of expectations when you're kind of in that two hole, especially like last year you had Blake Burke hitting in the two hole. Like that is a difficult place to move from ninth to second, and
completely didn't look out of place. Styles there too. Completely opposite.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing they got in common is they're left-handed. Other than that, not a whole lot. But yeah, he just looked the part. He looked like he'd been hitting the two hole all year long. And that's, you talk about earning trust, like that's how you do that. Now they're like, who's Gavin Keelan? That's not true. But it is a guy that like you think should be, he's one of your best hitters in the country. And I mean, what if Alabama loses LeBron? I mean, they're
How
a
will this
totally
affect LeBron's
different
legacy?
baseball team. What'd you say?
Yeah. I said, how will this affect LeBron's legacy?
Yeah, yeah. Is he the GOAT?
Yeah.
But you have Jay coming in there and he looks perfectly fine. I mean, that's the depth that we've been talking about and preaching about, is like that's different than any other baseball team. Not a lot of guys can lose their not a lot of teams can lose their best hitter and be okay and go win a series on the road like that. Um, I don't think Alabama could do that. Obviously, they had Justin LeBron this weekend and couldn't do it at home. So I doubt they do it somewhere on the road without him. And no, I mean that dude's a freak. But yeah, Jay Abernathy, and you know we're talking about freshmen. I thought Manny Marin struggled a little bit early on. I feel like he handles his bat fine. But one guy that I'm like, hold on, we thought we forgot. It's Ariel Antigua.
Yep.
He comes in that back half of that series and he has 3 hits on Saturday. I think he had a hit on Friday as well. I mean, he's incredible in the field. I mean, that's a guy where they're like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm still here needing to make plays, and I want to earn my opportunities as well. So you just have guys all the way up and down this roster that is like, hey, don't forget about me. And I think we talk about that every single week.
Yeah, before you said Abernathy, I actually thought you were going Antigua first, just because, yeah, he like you mentioned, he hit 500 on the weekend. I think he was 4 of 8. He drove in
Mm-hmm.
at least one. He scored at least one. You're rarely, if ever, going to have to worry about his glove in the field, especially at second base. Like if he could do it at shortstop, like we've seen the flashes of, then I mean, I think everybody would agree second's a lot less pressure there. So yeah, that was never a question about him. But yeah, back to finishing up on him, very good because that's always been the concern with him, right? Is the bat. Like you wonder if it would ever come along to do it
Yeah.
on the road in SEC play when you kind of had to step up and, like we've mentioned, there's your shot. Now he's gained a lot of trust with what he did this weekend, so props to him because if he doesn't do it there, you start to wonder, well, is he ever going to do it here? So props to him for doing that. But yeah, Abernathy, it was good confirmation of what you've mentioned before about him. Eventually we're probably going to see him move up in the order, if not this year, definitely next year. So it was good
Yeah.
confirmation for me to see what you've been talking about he's eventually going to move up there. How does he handle it? It to me, I mean, you put that guy anywhere, and it looks like he's just going to play his game and produce. So I don't think either one of us are really worried about it. But again, it's nice to see it confirmed now that he is a dude, regardless of where he's at in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, he's a singles machine and he's going to steal a ton of bases. And then if you get him on first base and a ball's hitting the outfield, he's going to be at third. He just kind of
At
gives you
least,
he gives you so much more um, when he's on the bases. And, a guy like that, you're like, all right, we just need to get you on base. And I feel like he's done a really good job of that so far is using that strength because he's able to get on base.
yeah, and it's only going to get better for him too as he starts seeing more pitches, and he's already got a good demeanor and approach when he comes up to the plate now. But when his eye gets even more trained, and he's going to be a legitimate threat to either throw me something or you're going to have to walk me and then watch me steal around the bases and score. That's only going to be better, especially when he's eventually there every day at the top of your lineup. He's a weapon that anybody would kill to have right now. But when he becomes even more complete at the plate of, okay, that's 2 inches outside, not swinging at it. Like when he gets that down, he's a cheat code more than he already is.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And another guy that it's like he was there and then he doesn't play and then when you need him, he's just there to produce. He's not the most talented guy, but he handles the bat well and can play basically any position. Dalton Bargo was a dude for Tennessee this weekend. I mean,
Oh yeah,
props to him. I mean, he was on it. Levi Clark struggled. There's kind of no way to. I mean, he was 0 for 7 on the weekend with 5 strikeouts. didn't help Tennessee a ton. And when you're a DH, you got to handle the bat. That's all you're working on. So if you're not helping in anything else, like it's time to see kind of what else somebody can bring. And Dalton Bargo brought. He was 2 for 2 on Friday night with 3 RBIs. I think he was 2 for 5 on Saturday with a couple RBIs. So he was really good. At one point, he had hit for the cycle in his last 4 at bats. But yeah, just really good with the bat this weekend. I mean, to me, you produce like that, you've earned your spot until you haven't anymore. I think you ride that hot hand. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just wonder for how long, because you see the immense talent with Clark there. Now, I mean, I think we all knew it was going to happen at some point. Like he
Sure.
can't you can't hit a bomb every time. 0 for 7 with 5 Ks is rough though. Like that tells you he's not seeing it well right now. It's the
Yeah.
difference between 0 for 7 with 4 flyouts, couple strikeouts. It's different. It's different with 5 Ks in there. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's I don't think anybody's worried about him right now. But at the same time, like when you got to come through and win a series, it becomes okay. Well, we got to win the series with whoever. So
Mhm.
it's what we mentioned before. Like Bargo's just going to be he's going to be that cheat. I mean, I've already called one person a cheat code. Everybody's a cheat code, it seems. So he's going to be that guy that, like you said, can move anywhere. He's I have a bold prediction. We'll call it. Everybody likes to say bold predictions. That's not going to be the last series that Dalton Bargo helps you win. I don't know how bold that is, but yeah, it's wild to me that he's not a guaranteed everyday starter. That we're even like having the conversation of you brought it out with Clark, you go with him now because we've said it before about a lot of guys, but everywhere else in the country he's not only starting, he's a featured player, and that's wild to me.
Yeah. Yeah, he was incredible this weekend. Yeah, and the fact that you can like if a guy like Manny Marin, he has back-to-back games with an error, you're like, all right, let's try something else in the field. And you have Dalton Bargo who could do that, who could play third, and you can move. I mean, Antigua can play. He's proved that he's earned some opportunities. So yeah, you just kind of like play mad scientist and just experiment and see kind of what gives you that best lineup that day. Um, are you always going to make the best decision? I don't think so, but um, no, I think going with the hot hand, I think it's hard to. I mean, everybody knew after Friday night's game, like Dalton Bargo should be in the lineup on Saturday. So I'm kind of thinking that same way. Do you continue to maybe fill it out in the midweek? Maybe let him play a position and hit and see if that's able to carry over. And I mean, you also want to get Levi Clark some at bats too. You don't want to just send him away at the end of the bench and for him never be seen again. Like he's going to get more opportunities, but I just feel like with Bargo right now in the positions he can play, I want to see that bat continue to be in the lineup somewhere somehow.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to matter a ton because like we've seen that there hasn't really been any like it doesn't seem like anybody's going to get their feelings hurt about it. Like I'm sure they'll get pissed and wish that it was still them in there, but not to the point of like, oh, I'm going to shut down now. Especially somebody like Clark, who
Yeah.
I'm sure it's rough on him because it seems like since he stepped on the campus, he's been an alien. So he's not really used to this yet. But that's why I think it doesn't really matter. Just ride it out with Bargo right now, like you're saying. He's hot, and then yeah, I mean Clark's still going to get plenty of opportunities. We've seen that Tony knows how to keep guys involved and engaged even when they're not the featured guy. So that for right now, it's just mental for Clark because you can tell he's just not seeing it well. It was always going to happen at some point. It happens to everybody. So anybody that's worried about that, it's just not valid. Like you've seen what he is. So just
Mhm.
ride it out. If he's not producing, yeah, sorry, we got 7 other guys that can do it till you're back. So yeah, at this point, Bargo's done enough this year to where he needs to be in there until he proves that he can't do it and that he's showing no signs of that. So just ride him till he's hot. He starts cooling off. Hey, Levi Clark that can hit the ball 700 feet. Well, we'll get you back in there then.
Yeah. Um, Going to Saturday's game, you kind of won that in a little slugfest, 10-7. Tennessee jumped out to a 5-0 lead in those first 2 innings, and It was a lot of Hunter Inslee getting you to that point with a couple RBIs there. I thought he was really good in this series. I thought Marcus Phillips, was it his best outing? Probably not, but he wasn't bad by any means. Nate Snead, it probably wasn't his best outing by any means, but it was, you pitched good enough to win. And that's what you're trying to do. And in these series, like, you're not going to have, I mean, you might have good stuff, but those bats, you might just be catching a few barrels here and there that get some runs. It's just going to happen with really good hitters in this league. You're not going to mow everybody down for 10 strikeouts and, 6 complete innings. Like that's just unrealistic to think that that's going to happen. But I thought he pitched good enough to win. Again, like, there was some walks in there, some hit by pitches, not terrible stuff. It just stuff that you need to. And he got in some trouble there later on in his outing. They brought in Dylan Moy. I think he walked a batter, loaded the bases, and then got a strikeout to end the inning. That was huge. Then Nate Snead came in, and you're just so far ahead. Like, they would score a couple runs, but Tennessee's lineup would answer. And so you never really felt like the game was super close to really, hey, you need a dominant pitching performance right here. They were just good enough to win, and those bats came alive to make it a lot better. Also, that Alabama playing service, it must be one of the worst in the country.
I hate their part. It just from the camera point of view, the feel, I hate everything about it. The players inside of it, I hate everything about it. Yeah, I don't. The backstop is very weird to me on TV. It's got to be weird for pitchers too. I don't understand any part of it. We'll cut all our pitchers, some credit here, and we'll blame it on that because it deserves blame. It's hideous. But I mean, yeah, on Phillips, yeah, I think he had at least one base runner every inning he was in. So I mean, that's not great, but he did show in some spots that he didn't let it affect him too much. If that's the bad Marcus Phillips this year, then that's perfectly fine with me because he's still going to win you a lot of games with what he did, what he did then with our lineup. So I didn't have too many thoughts on that because it wasn't super impressive, but it wasn't bad either. And if that's an average day for him, I'll take it every time. But yeah, that park is that's. I can't think of too many in the SEC that are worse than that one. I don't know why I don't like it.
Yeah. This is also where you saw Tanner Franklin come in and get the save. It was an interesting kind of dynamic there. I know he had been getting tagged a little bit in that Florida series, and but you bring him in to save on Friday night, and then you also bring him in on Saturday to get the save. Is that kind of a new wrinkle that you like to see there?
If he can go multiple days, which I think a lot of guys at this level should be able to, yeah, because he's got filthy stuff as well, and I don't know if he's as much of a long inning guy Snead is, at least at Tennessee. I don't know that he'll ever be that. So yeah, if you need him to come in for one inning, I see no reason why he can't do that on back-to-back days or 3 days in a row.
Mm-hmm. And those freshman arms on Saturday were fun to watch with Tegan Coons and Braden Krenzel. Yeah. I mean, those are two guys you're like, yeah, or are we going to see Tegan Coons? Last week everybody's complaining about, oh, why do we take him out? Why do we take him out? And then he pitches a gem, 4 1/3, 2 walks, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts. I mean, he was just insane. Him and Braden Krenzel were unreal against that Alabama lineup. I think they ended up getting 2 runs. I think 1 was earned, and then 11 Ks between the 2 of them. And Justin LeBron was, I think, over. He was over 4. Yes, he was, with 3 strikeouts. So they just kept guys off balance. I mean, it's not like the velo's super high or anything like that. They just, location. They have those second pitches working for them. They get ahead in the count. They throw strikes, and that's exactly – you want to pitch a long time, a lot of innings for Tennessee, you got to throw strikes. And as freshmen, to see them do that early in their career is really cool to see.
It's the business like Frank Anderson approach. Like, hey, it's not the wow, the Ben Joyce. It's not the wow Dollander. It's with just pure stuff like that. It's very good stuff, but it's not the wow factor. It's just very business like. It looks, you don't ever want to say easy, but it looks like they have a process they go through with every batter, and they hit on every factor of that process. And it's I'm a Braves guy. I'm always been a Braves guy. So I've seen the contrasting styles with you had John Smoltz, who back in that day was throwing hard. Today it would be considered kind of average. Sorry, John, if you ever see this, I still love you. I still have your poster, but it. But then you had Greg Maddux, who I was never a hard thrower at all, but is one of the best pitchers in the history of baseball, just because of how crafty he was, and he could hit a gnat, like he was that accurate. So I like the contrasting styles. Tennessee's had so many of the we'll call them smolts, but it's harder than smolts actually the past couple of years that it is. It's why Kirby was such a fan favorite here. Obviously, there was a lot of reasons for that, but it was like you see the high 90s with the hard curveball, and you're like, oh, that's a big leaguer. And then you see Kirby come in there with a mustache. He's going to sit about mid 80s, upper 80s if he really grunts when he throws it. But he's crafty. He's got the nice slider. It's more of a crafty approach. It's more of a business like approach. It's not going to wow you. That's what both of those guys have at this point, and I like it. I love the change of pace every now and then. And the people that hate it are the hitters, because you start to hone in on one thing, and it's very to the average person. It's like, oh, it's not that big of a jump in velocity. It's not this much run on this pitch. But it's hard, man. It's hard when you get used to seeing that coming in and see that change of pace come in. It's going to take a couple, even for a good hitter, it's going to take a couple times through the order to actually get honed in on it. And by then, it's late in the ball game.
Yeah, and in Saturday's game, it just felt like Tennessee just their pitchers were working, and then the bats. It seemed like Alabama was out of pitching, or didn't have
Yeah.
enough, or didn't have enough talent to make Tennessee's lineup uncomfortable. I mean, Tennessee had 15 hits in this game, and I think he had 4 guys with multiple hits. Dean Curley had 3, Hunter Hensley had 2, Bargo had 2, Reese had 3, and Ariel Antigua had 3. So there was a ton of guys had multiple hits, and I mean this just seemed like Alabama just kind of ran out of gas. It is what it felt like to me. I mean, maybe you saw it differently, but I mean they didn't score until the 8th inning, and like that game was over. Like there was no way there. I mean, Tennessee still had plenty of pitching. You could have went back. I mean, you did go back to Tanner Franklin. Dylan Lloyd probably could have pitched a little bit more if you really needed him to. Ryan Combs didn't even. I mean, he gave up 1 hit and then left. I mean, they could have went to a number of. Thomas Crabtree probably could have pitched. They had plenty of guys. I feel like that were capable of coming in and pitching. Like they had more. Like we could have played 2 more games, and I feel like we would have been fine. And
Yeah,
that's the difference between Tennessee and everybody else right now.
right. It's exactly what I was going to say, because we've seen the days where Chad Dallas had to pitch more than he probably should have, and he did great with it. We've seen guys like that come through here in the past couple of years, and it's not a shot at Alabama's program. I mean, it is, because I hate them, but at the same time, like it. Well, you can see where programs start to run out of gas, like you said, like they run out of guys they can depend on, and sometimes somebody can come in and play hero ball, but against a program like Tennessee, you're not going to see performances like that. The lineup's too stacked for a guy, an relatively unknown guy, to come in and have a star performance. It's going to be very rare that something like that can happen. And yeah, that's what it looked like to me. They just not again. I don't think Alabama was a bad program. There are many worse, but you saw the depth change up of where, like you said, I think we could have turned around and played another series and probably still had enough quality arms to get through one. They would not have. So
Yeah.
it's the it's odd seeing that because like we've seen the lean days, and now we're the program. It's like you go to your third corner in college football, and he's still top 75 player in the country coming out. Like you have depth and you have quality depth. So it's nice to see the baseball version of that because it's pretty rare to see a program like this.
Right. I mean, we're talking about Dalton Bargo. He wasn't even like playing much at one time. And when we got him out of the portal, he was one of Missouri's best players. Like it just, again, Tennessee, the way they're recruiting right now, the way they're building this lineup and this roster is unlike what we've seen before. Like we've had dudes, but the way they're just like recruiting and getting guys out of the portal and developing that talent, it's how you sustain success, and that's why Tennessee has been so good for so long, since Tony's been here, is because of that.
And I'll add in, it relatively hasn't been seen in college baseball before because I mean you've seen deep teams before, but that used to just be built through recruiting, and it was built through convincing guys to not go pro at the beginning of their careers and come to college, but also like, hey, third year, why don't you stay one more year? You may build your stock up again. That was how you built depth of this quality before. And now you're seeing it. I mean, we're the it program right now. I hope we are for many years to come, and it looks like we're set up to be that way too. But you really notice it now with the addition of the transfer portal, like we've talked about, like you just brought up with Bargo, guys like that, like killing, like where you can fill holes, but you're also the program everybody wants to be at, so the recruits are still coming anyway. So it's matching up. The rise of the program is matching up at this time in college sports and college baseball in particular, where I don't know that the level of depths we're talking that we're about to have over the next few years and what we've seen, the last 2 years specifically, like it's hard to describe because it's pretty unknown, honestly. I don't think we've seen much like this in the sport before.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's been fun to watch and fun to keep up with, and I mean, obviously, before Tony, like, ain't nobody doing podcasts just about Tennessee baseball. I mean, what kind of it would no one would listen to it, and now kind of everybody has got a specific show just for that. So yeah, just what he's built has been insane, and it's also him doing it the way he's done it has grown the sport significantly too. One more thing I kind of want to get your thoughts on. Yeah, exactly. One more thing I want to get your thoughts on, and then we'll get to MVP and get y'all out of here, is the catcher position. It was a struggle this weekend. Stone and Cannon Peebles combined to go 0-13. How many? I think there was 7 strikeouts. Or maybe no, there's 5 strikeouts. 0-13, 5 strikeouts. I think Stone Wallace had 4 of those strikeouts, so it wasn't a great. He had also had an error. Not a great job by the catchers this weekend. Is that something? And I don't think this is the case, but at some point, do you just kind of be like, "Hey, Bargo, just go catch for us because your bat's better"? Or is it like between him and Levi Clark, and that's or Manny?
I wouldn't know because I don't know. You may have better insight into it of how much Bargo is still working with the catchers. If he's still been back there on a pretty regular basis, I mean, we haven't seen it in games, obviously, but if in the past year, leading up to this with the new pitchers coming in, I don't know how much he's still been working with them. If it's a case where even though we haven't seen him in games, if he's still been getting some pretty regular run back there in, practices, scrimmages, I'm not opposed to that. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably keep that as a break glass in case of emergency. Just because the relationship between the pitchers and catchers is so important. So if he hasn't if he hasn't built that up with a lot of these guys yet, with all the new faces we've got, I think I don't know how much good or how much better that would really do you just for the excuse of getting his bat in the lineup. At that spot, I think it's kind of the same of what we talked about before of riding the hot hand there. I think that's probably going to be your best course of action there until somebody,
Yeah.
like we said, until somebody steps up and takes it. I've mentioned before, like even if somebody steps up and takes it, you're still going to need both of them regardless. That's just the nature of the game, the nature of the position. So I I don't know how much Bargo's been working with him. If he hasn't at all, then no, I'd say that's not your best case. So if it's break glass in case of emergency, I wouldn't go to that at this point because I think both Peebles and Lawless are talented. Um, I think, especially in Lawless's case, this is his first case of kind of real struggles this weekend, and it was rough. But yeah, I wouldn't go to that just yet, and I'd be tough. I'd be tough to be convinced to do that at all this season unless injury happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on that. I just, you need somebody to go win the job. Like, bottom
Yeah,
line, it does probably need to be one of those two, but one of those two needs to take it and run with it because over 13 just isn't getting it done. And Tennessee's lineup's good enough to overcome that, but there's going to be a time where you're like, hey man, we need a hit, we need something, a drive and a run. It doesn't have to be a hit. Hey, hit a bunt, sacrifice
yeah.
fly, something like help us out, produce a little bit in the box. Um, and especially on Saturday, I mean, Stone was, I think, 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. Like that, you just can't have that. Like you're not seeing it. I mean, kind of like what you're talking about with Levi Clark. You're just not seeing the ball at all.
Levi, I wouldn't mind getting some run back there. If same thing. If he's been working with him pretty regularly, since he's been in that DH role, I don't know how much they've had him back there, but I'd be more inclined to try him out just because he is younger, and if he can do it at some point, you never know in his career. Like, does that become his spot again? I'd say likely, probably not, but I would lean more towards him getting a try back there, but it wouldn't be much more than Bargo.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely interesting kind of see how that plays out, that competition. I mean, we were talking about it. Stone, as well as he played, it was an open competition, and now neither one of them have like we go through a weekend where neither one of them produced. So I guess technically it's still open. We're just kind of waiting for somebody to take that job and run with it.
And it's nice to be able to win series on the road while having that question mark too.
Sure.
And with having your arguably best hitter out, your Friday night guy didn't have a good performance, just summing it all up. All of that happened, and you still walked away with a series win on the road. That
Yeah,
just
it wasn't
shows you how far we've
flawless
come.
by any means for Tennessee this weekend, but you come out with a series win, so you take that all day long and you kind of build on it. You go to South Carolina this weekend, who I think they're 1-5 in conference play. They lost to Oklahoma the first series. I think they lost the Friday, Sunday games, and then they got swept by Arkansas. I think they got run ruled on Friday, and it wasn't really close all weekend. So, yeah, Tennessee goes and faces Paul Maneri, and hopefully he's debating on whether he should retire again after this weekend. That would be ideal.
He Last time we saw him, he was having a rough go sitting in the dugout over there. You could tell he was wondering where it all went wrong because he
Yeah,
had been a good coach for a long time, and so he's always going to worry a little bit. But I mean, I don't. It's two very different programs and ones that have been trending in opposite directions for a
sure.
while. So yeah, I'd say it's probably gonna be a pretty rough weekend for Paul. He's probably gonna be rubbing his forehead quite a bit if I had to guess.
Yeah, 100%. Let's go MVP real quick. I think you are up first this time.
I'll go Antigua just because
Oh, okay.
he's a guy. He's a guy that I like the underdog stories, and I mean it's not going to be nobody's saying he's taking Gavin Keelan's spot. I mean that would be ridiculous. But it's like you said, just when you start to count him out, and I mean it's a weekend where I mean Curley produced, Chapman, Bargo. Like, I mean, there's a lot of directions you could go. I don't know that there was like a clear alpha dog this weekend. It took several guys stepping up to overcome some struggles, and I like seeing the guy take advantage of the opportunity he's given. Now it's only going to move him up more in the coach's eyes. It's put to rest some worries, about his bat, hopefully. So he definitely earned himself more playing time. I don't know how much more it's going to be, so might as well give him the MVP while I've got the chance. Like we said, he hit 500 in the chances he was given this weekend. He did a little bit of everything, every facet of the game he excelled at. So I'll give it to him while we can, because maybe we don't see him much more, or maybe he becomes a guy that you can really count on this year at some point. So I'll go Ariel Antigua.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I mean that glove, man, it's beautiful. It's beautiful
He's
to
filthy.
watch. Yeah, and how quick he's able to just like field it, like get it out of his glove. The transfer is like the quickest part. It's like you can't even see. Like, you think the ball is just like a magnet in his hand. He's throwing it. Like it's just one motion, all in one. It's beautiful to watch him
And
field the baseball.
it's fun too. Like in a day and age where college sports are becoming more pro with every passing day. With guys getting paid now, guys making business decisions, which I mean, all for. Like they have that right and have earned that right. It's fun to watch a guy like Antigua that when you see him, it looks like he's always smiling and having fun, and he makes it fun to watch too, regardless of what he's doing. You're like, he's a highlight reel guy. He's the guy in basketball that whenever he gets the ball in the corner, you're like, he's not shooting it. He's about to drive down, and you're going to see something. There's about to be a collision at the rim, and
Yeah,
he's a guy that, with him, most of the time you're going to see the highlight reel dunk. You're going to see him make the diving play, the spin throw. Like he's going to do something. And this weekend he handled himself very well on the road in the SEC in the batter's box too. So he's just very fun to watch play the game. That's why I hope we see more of him in whatever capacity it is.
yeah. Speaking of being, two sides being so different from one another, having a 6'3" shortstop, and then the next inning you get a 5'8" shortstop. I mean, it doesn't get any more different than that. And Antigua is so quick, and he gets the ball out fast. He's got a pretty strong arm for what he is, but then you see Dean Curley, where it's very finesse, and then he throws an absolute 100,000-mile-an-hour fastball over to first base. Like two totally different styles in playing the position and body type as well.
Yeah, you're watching Curley at shortstop, who's the third baseman. But I mean, we've had that discussion before. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, for sure. My MVP is going to be Mr. Tennessee Baseball, Hunter Hensley. He went 7 for 14 in the series, 6 RBIs, and on Saturday he had 3 stolen bases. I mean, just does it all, and does it quietly. When he does it, it's not super loud. Like he doesn't have the Drew Gilbert walk off, like that kind of presence and personality. Like he just kind of goes about his business, and I mean, he's a professional baseball player. Like he will foul the crap out of balls until you throw him one he can do something with. And it seems like when he hits something, it's barreled. And he loves hitting in that, right between third base and shortstop. He loves hitting singles into that, but can go oppo, so you can't shift on him because he can also send it oppo. And I thought he did a really good job this weekend, especially when Tennessee needed a big base hit in big situations with 2 outs. It was Hunter Hensley that was able to make that happen.
He stole the bases like he was chasing a fly ball in the gap, and he's about to run face first into the wall. That's when he's at his fastest. I think he just envisioned that. So yeah, he looked like Abernathy to me. Credit to him.
But you could have went Dean Curley. I thought he played really well this weekend. I thought Reese Chapman continues to look the part, and Just love kind of what he brings in that 6 hole. He's just
Margot.
yep. Yep. You could have went with a number of guys. I mean, Tegan Coons is probably too. I mean, both of
Yeah.
those freshman pitchers looked really good. So yeah, just another great weekend of Tennessee baseball. Looking forward to talking more of that. They play Queens on Tuesday. I don't know what Queens has. Probably nothing great. So let's get back to our winning ways in the midweek, and let's get to Columbia, South Carolina, take care of business of old Paul, and yeah, just continue this run of, the whole staying undefeated. That's past and gone. I think that's probably a good thing. Let's stop worrying about that. Let's just focus on winning series when you need to. And Tennessee's 5-1 right now, starting off great. You could be starting off like Florida, Texas A&M, or 0-6 in the SEC. Don't know what that's like, but it can be done, as you've seen.
Yeah. A lot of traffic in Queens. That's all I know. That's all I'll say about it. I doubt there's going to be a lot of traffic on the base path. So
Yeah.
I don't know much about them, and honestly, don't care to know much about them because that one shouldn't be close.
Yep. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for listening to this episode of the Bat Flip. We'll be back next week talking more Tennessee baseball. Have a good week, and we're out.